Thanks for joining, and thanks to the App Hub team for putting together this innovative event. My name is Deidre Kolaric, and I lead the user experience research team for all of our publisher products here at Google, including AdMob. In my previous life, I was a cognitive psychologist, and I studied the relationship between emotion and decision-making, which is actually not as unrelated to our topic today as you might think. Today, I'll be sharing some insights from research on consumer ad sentiments that I hope will help you build a better experience for your users by thinking about that journey from start to finish. I'm going to start with an introduction to our team and what we do. I will then share some insights from research on consumer ad sentiments. I'll then focus on some examples of bad ad experiences and some common characteristics and what we can learn from them. And then I'll shift to a few characteristics of positive ad experiences that I hope will inspire you. Our team's mission is to understand how people interact with technology and to bring those insights into creating truly user-centered products. And we think about two different groups of users. The first are the publishers that actually use our products, much like probably many of you. The second group are the end consumers who actually see the products themselves and who engage with ads. So today I'm going to be focusing primarily on that second group of users. We approach our work through a variety of research methods, both quantitative and qualitative, including things like behavioral user data, surveys, one-on-one interviews, and even contextual observation, where we watch people using the products and aim to understand, what's easy, what's difficult, where do they run into challenges, and how can we improve that experience for our users. So first, I'll set the stage by sharing a few statistics from work that we've done internally, as well as some external work, to better understand how people feel about ad experiences, particularly when it comes to mobile devices. In our internal research, 53% of consumers said they felt like there was nothing good about smartphone ads. Nothing. Let that sink in. So that's obviously a really strong statement. And what it suggests to me is that either those bad experiences are so bad that they've sort of clouded the perception of any ad experiences. So even the good ones sort of don't rise above that. And the other option is potentially that the good ad experiences aren't quite so good, right? They're just diluted a bit. And so there's not enough recall of those when we ask people how they feel about them. Similarly, 56% of our respondents said that they found app ads annoying. 56% is, again, it's more than half. This is obviously not quite as strong of a statement, but it still concerns us, right? Especially since we care about users having a positive experience with our products. Over half of our users using a word like annoying to describe ads is not ideal. So both of these statistics signal that there's room for improvement. Finally, this graph highlights another key takeaway. This is from research conducted by the Nielsen Norman Group. They're an independent research agency. And they looked to compare the evaluations of different ad experiences across desktop and mobile. So what you're seeing here are the average evaluations of about 10 to 12 different ad types and how those differ from depending on the device type. And so I want to point out that on this scale, the higher the number, the more the consumer disliked the product. So a higher score is worse. So what you'll notice here in this graph, right, is that on the mobile side, there's a significantly higher dislike of ads in mobile than on desktop on the left there. And this makes sense on the face of it, right? Like on a mobile device, there's less screen real estate. People are typically goal-directed or goal-oriented, and so ads can be seen as being sort of disruptive and distracting. So the takeaway here is that we want to be even more thoughtful and consider this when we design ad experiences for mobile devices. Ads are important for the health of the internet, right? The revenue helps support providing free content. It sustains journalism. And for many of us here, it helps you guys make a living. So we know that they're important. But what we see is that consumers are growing increasingly frustrated with ads that interrupt their experiences, that might prevent them from engaging with content or apps that they are seeking, or even can slow down their browsing speed. And so when consumers get frustrated with an app, the likelihood is they'll stop using it, right? But if they're really unhappy, they might even speak up about it loudly, as you can see here. I wanted to call out two examples from the different app stores to highlight negative reviews of apps that the content of which actually focuses on their ad experiences. So even if the app itself was well designed, by introducing negative ad experiences or overdoing the ad experience, right, your users may actually rate the app more negatively. It's seen as a reflection of your product as well. So again, it's worth giving serious consideration to what you're delivering by way of an ad experience when you serve them up to your users. Now I'm going to shift to insights that were provided by the Coalition for Better Ads. And this is a group of international trade associations and companies that are involved with online media that have the goal of really improving consumers' experiences with online advertising. And they've conducted research with over 66,000 consumers to bring those kinds of insights and cross-industry expertise in order to develop better standards for online advertising. So what I'm going to share with you here are some highlights from their research on the mobile ad experience for consumers. And this was part of developing better ad standards. So what they've done is use quantitative research data to create a stack ranking. All of this is also available online, by the way, if you want to read the full report, you can just search for Coalition for Better Ads. They've stack ranked these ad experiences and created a threshold. And anything that falls below that threshold is deemed sort of unacceptable. And these, we know, are the ads that are more likely to drive people into like using ad blockers, which obviously is not ideal. So we're able to get a really good read on the kinds of ad experiences that people rank worst. So I'm going to share 5 of those with you here today before I shift to more positive ad experiences. So 5 of the worst offenders from a consumer standpoint. And what I want to share with you are also some common characteristics of these ads experiences so that when you're looking at ad formats, even if new formats come out or maybe it wasn't tested at the time of their research, you can kind of have a sense of what elements contribute to these negative ratings. And I hope these principles will help you think about how to create, if not a positive ad experience, at least a neutral one for your end users. So first up are pop-up ads. These are ads that appear after content starts to load and they block the main content of the page or the app. This means that when I get to a screen or a page and I'm ready to engage with content, perhaps even after I have engaged with content for 1, 2, even 3 seconds, that experience is immediately disrupted as an ad is served to me. So the ads with the pop-up ads with a countdown timer are rated more annoying than those that don't have a timer. So again, this idea that you're sort of forcing a user to sit through an ad experience, they're a captive audience, is one of the factors that helps drive this rating down. Next up are prestitial ads. And these are ads that appear on a page before the content's loaded, again, blocking the user from accessing what they came there for. Prestitials can be full screen. They can be part of the screen. They might also be a standalone page that keeps a user from accessing the main content. Now, for an end user, this is just another example of an unpleasant disruption. I've been prevented from accomplishing what I set out to do. This next category refers to the ad density, or the proportion of the vertical page that's consumed by ads relative to the rest of the content. In order to calculate the density, we sum up the heights of all of the ads that are on the main content portion of the page. We then divide that by the total area of the main content portion. So the ad calculation will exclude things like headers, footers, site navigation, but it will include things like sticky ads or inline ads. So from a user's perspective, what makes 30% special? We see that is the sort of ratio at which it becomes hard to engage with the content that I'm seeking. So it may be that, I'm just having to sift through a lot of noise to get to the signal. And that for a user is taxing, right? It creates increased cognitive demand and it's disruptive and it feels like they're being frustrated from their goals. So again, we want to aim for less than 30% of overall ad density. This next example is particularly common, especially in online games, flashing animated ads. And these typically have things like colors and text and backgrounds that are changing all the time. They create a sort of visual chaos for your end user, and they can be really aggravating and distracting. Human attention capacity is limited. And so again, if I'm trying to focus on something and an ad is trying to distract my attention to something that I didn't ask for and I'm not necessarily interested in, that again becomes a very negative experience for our end users. Okay, last up, autoplay ads with sound. So these are the ones that begin without any kind of prompting or interaction from the user. This experience will catch your users off guard, right? We've all probably been in this scenario. It happens a lot on news sites, for instance. But essentially, the user gets a bit stressed out, or they can get stressed out because they feel like they have to deal with this ad right away. They either have to shut off the sound, they have to close the tab or shut down the app, or just lower their volume on their device. In short, it's forcing them to react, and that is perceived negatively as well. And think about it also from mobile. This is a particular issue because a lot of times people are in public places, and they may be places that are relatively quiet, or certainly they don't want to just have music or sound or something like that start to play without their acknowledgement. And so this can be even embarrassing, uncomfortable. And I do also want to point out that videos that allow the user to turn on the sound or require some interaction were not rated as poorly. So it's not that the sound itself is bothersome, it's affording your user some degree of control over what that ad experience is and allowing them to have some ownership of that. And that, again, leads to a higher rating. Okay, so now that we've covered a few examples of the worst offenders, I want to wrap up by sharing a few principles of good ads from our internal research, things we've learned. Good ad experiences do exist, and when they work well, they have the potential to create positive brand impressions, which again can transfer to the app itself and their overall rating of the product. It can create favorable emotional reactions and long-term loyalty. So great ads provide the audience with a sense of discovery. It helps them feel like they've learned something new and exciting. Maybe they've stumbled upon something other people don't know about. It piques their curiosity. They want to learn more. They want to engage with the brand. Now, I realize that most of you won't actually be creating ad content, so I don't want to focus too much on the substance of the ads. I'm going to shift and actually spend more time talking about a component that you do actually have some control over, and that's the context in which the ad is served. So one of the most important characteristics of good ads, and one that I hope will inspire you as developers and designers, is that good ads appear in the right place at the right time. And what does that mean? This is when the audience, the consumer, is willing to listen. So if we think back to the bad ad experiences I reviewed, right, one of the common threads is that they've disrupted a user's experience. They've surprised them in an unpleasant way by essentially getting between the user and their goal. So depending on what that goal is and how strongly I feel about it, that can be perceived as very negatively, right? If I'm browsing social media, right, an ad is not as disruptive because I'm sort of in that mind state of just taking in information. But if I'm trying to engage with an app, or I want to read some content, then the ad experience is actually disrupting my flow. If I'm trying to complete a task really quickly, only to have to be told I have to sit through some ad for a predetermined length of time, right, that may leave me feeling very annoyed. And those things, those emotions, I mentioned emotion and decision-making early on. If I'm in a frustrated or annoyed state of mind, I am less likely to be receptive to the message of the ad, even if it's something that I might otherwise care about, even if the ad is really good and it's relevant for me, because it came at the wrong time. So in short, as developers, you want your users to have great experiences, right? You probably put a lot of care into that. Great experiences lead to happy users or repeat users. And we all know that that represents greater long-term value for you as a publisher. And good ads can be a key part of that experience. So for that to be true, we have to keep in mind a few things, right? Context matters. So think about where you allow your ads to be placed. Think about the kinds of ads you want to allow run in your app. Are they the kind of ads that are going to deliver a great experience for your users? Are they placed in ways and at intervals that allow your users to be receptive and engage with them? So for instance, if I'm playing a game and I'm between levels, this is a perfect opportunity to engage with me. My mental state has shifted. I was focused on the game. I know I'm taking a break, and I may even welcome that distraction, right? Versus if I'm in the middle of doing something, don't interrupt that because it's going to be perceived very negatively. My take-home point here is that a great user journey is not just what you build into your app. It's all the touch points your user has with your brand, from the initial setup, download, through to what ongoing usage and, yes, ad experiences look like on a regular basis. So if we consider this entire journey more holistically, the end result is bound to be more positive. Thank you, and I look forward to getting your questions during the Q&A portion.